What's up, everyone? So I know I said a while back that I was gonna try to start recording some more of these like unscripted rambling videos. To be clear, some stuff just kind of came up. Stuff just keeps happening to where I don't really have a good time frame to be able to record pretty much anything. I want to stream more. I want to record like gameplay content. I can't really do those things right now, so I apologize. I'm trying to make myself more productive mainly, but I wanted to use this one opportunity I've had today to just talk for a little bit about Donkey Kong Bananza because I had been tempted to make like a main channel video on this topic, but I don't really want to do that, honestly, because I'm remembering my Silent Hill 2 remake video and how that just like kind of pissed a certain group of people off who just like weren't really. I mean, I admit, looking back, that video, there were certain criticisms I had uh, about Silent Hill 2 remake that were a little bit odd, I will admit, but like on the whole, I feel like I was pretty fair, and I still got that kind of response. People who were just like, "Oh, it's not bad. It's good. You smell. You suck. You're stupid for thinking that." I don't know. I don't feel like going through that right now with Donkey Kong Bonanza. So like maybe like a year down the line, whenever people decide it's like cool to have a more nuanced opinion on the game, I could like do a more fleshed out video on the topic. But I want to ramble for a little bit about it because I didn't have any real expectations for Donkey Kong Bonanza. I didn't like Super Mario Odyssey. I liked it at the time that it came out. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was like the best thing since like Mario 64, which is like one of my favorite 3D platformers. I constantly, at least used to constantly come back to it. I haven't actually replayed it in like a year or two. I need to get around to that at some point. Point being, I loved it at the time, but as I've expressed in like a previous video, if you're ever curious, it's the When Gaming Opinions Change video that I did like probably like 3 years ago at this point, not 3 videos ago. I mean, I tried to replay Mario Odyssey, and something about it just like didn't feel the same. It just didn't feel as fun. And I never felt that way about any prior Mario game up to that point, except for maybe Mario Galaxy, because looking back, that game is like very much a one and done kind of scenario. I feel like whenever I tried to replay it, because it just feels like inherently very linear, the moveset is super rigid, it's not like, not a very interesting game to replay. I feel like it's probably one of the more overhyped 3D Mario games, but I don't know if that's sorry about that. That was my chair. I don't know if that's like a cold take to say that, or if people generally agree that it's not like a super amazing game anymore. I just remember when it was put up on a huge pedestal that I just don't think it really matches up to in terms of quality. Well, not in terms of quality, but just I don't know, in terms of fun for me. Mario Odyssey was like a similar thing where I tried replaying it once, I didn't enjoy it. I tried replaying it like I don't even think I finished my second playthrough. Maybe I did, and then I tried replaying it again to see if I could enjoy it more that time. I still didn't, and I dropped it like around the Ice Kingdom, whatever that kingdom was called, Snow Kingdom. I tried replaying again, and I got maybe a little further, and I still dropped it because I just got kind of bored with it. And ever since then, I have just been of the opinion that like there's been something about Mario Odyssey that I just don't like, and I was really, really, really hoping that Donkey Kong Bonanza would change that. And I know I'm taking a while to get to the point here and actually talk about Donkey Kong Bonanza, but like it's a rambling video. What do you expect? I don't have notes here. I'm spitballing. So we get around to Donkey Kong Bonanza. I didn't really closely follow the marketing. I thought it looked neat whenever I first saw it, and I don't really remember thinking much about it after that, and then it just kind of like it came out. I saw someone streaming it. I watched a little bit of it, and I thought, oh, maybe this is actually gonna be really good. I wasn't like about to buy it or anything because like it's $70 freaking dollars. I don't that's a whole other tangent I could go on. But I'm gonna avoid that so I can actually let's just like get into the game. Even though I did play it from start to finish, and there were elements of it, there were portions of it that I did kind of enjoy. On the whole, I honestly think that Donkey Kong Bonanza may be a worse game than Mario Odyssey. And I don't know if that's like a crazy take or anything, but it feels to me like the Mario Odyssey team got way too comfortable. And it's just like the biggest problem for me is the level design and the collectibles and everything. I thought at first the collectibles, the Banandium gems, were like a huge improvement over the Power Moons. And on the whole, I think they're at least a marginal improvement because the Banandium gems serve to upgrade your skills. They don't actually serve to serve as like progression, like a lock on to unlock progression in the story. You don't even have to unlock to grab any Banandium gems, as far as I know. You only have to grab like the first one in the game to beat the game, which I thought was like really strange. I don't know. I think in a way that was to try and circumvent the argument that people were having where there were too many like throwaway moons in Odyssey, and so it kind of just felt like you weren't having to put much effort into finding them to progress in the story. And so in DK Bonanza, they're just like, okay, well, we're still going to have like 800, 1,000, I don't really know how many exactly there are, of those Banandium gems. But like, you don't actually have to collect them this time. You don't have to collect any of them. You can just like pick up a few here and there if you want to upgrade your skill set. Or you could just go on your merry way and progress in the story. Do whatever you want at your own pace. And conceptually, I think that could work. But the way that Donkey Kong Bonanza is designed, I think it actively makes it a much less interesting game, because I don't really care for the skill tree that much. It's as with many things in this game, it starts off good. I starts off where I like it. I like the idea. I think it has a lot of potential. And then the more you upgrade, the more it's like the only thing you're really adjusting are like specific stats. Like your Kong Bonanza will last longer. You'll be able to one thing I did like was you could upgrade the ostrich ability to be able to glide or fly for longer, but like majority of the actual useful upgrades are just like adjusting stats. So you're able to punch through certain higher levels of terrain in fewer punches, stuff like that, and it really quickly becomes uninteresting. And then you start to have that same, at least I started to have the same exact problem as in Mario Odyssey, where there is some kind of actual like reward for collecting the gems beyond progression this time around, but somehow they feel less meaningful to collect, because the root of the problem wasn't really fixed. The root of the problem is that there are just too many Banandium gems. And I'm sorry if people are sick of that argument, but I have always held true to that argument with Mario Odyssey, that there are just too many moons. They should have had much fewer, focused on like, okay, let's just say maximum 200 power moons in the game. Maximum. I don't think you needed like 800 power moons in the game, because like a lot of them you just bought, and it's the same thing in Bonanza. A lot of them you can find by just like punching through the terrain. You'll find them underground, or just like maybe you have to do some platforming for some of them, which is like slightly better than nothing, I guess. There's also the other ones that you can just buy with the coins that you can collect, and the gold. And there are also these sort of like challenge rooms, sort of like also like what Mario Odyssey had. There's a lot of like elements that are carried over from Odyssey that are just like executed slightly worse, because the bonus rooms in Donkey Kong Bananza range from just like, I mean, they're all right to whatever. They're just like really nothing special. The level design does not really ask anything of you. And unfortunately, I think this is also very true in the open zones, I guess, as I'll call them, the sandbox areas. There's maybe a few exceptions later in the game, but something I really got tired of were the filler sublayers. There's so many filler sublayers in this game. It's not even funny. Like I'm gonna look it up real quick for my own sake, because I don't have any notes. I'm kind of going off of memory here. But I personally feel like at the resort layer, that's when you really start getting into the most shameless of the filler content, because the resort layer was like one of the most whatever layers in the whole game. Then you get to Tempest, which is, I mean, to me, something I think is funny. This is sort of an unrelated tangent, but the Tempest layer kind of reminds me of Zora's Domain in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I thought a similar thing about like Ingot Isle, or was it Lagoon Layer? Lagoon Layer, and Lagoon Layer kind of aesthetically looks very similar to the Sky Islands in Tears of the Kingdom, which I thought was funny. But Tempest Layer was pretty whatever. Landfill Layer was like, I mean, it literally is a landfill. It's literal filler. And then after that, you have the Racing Layer, which is just like the first and like only time I think that Diddy and Dixie show up, and there's not really any fanfare for them. They're just kind of there. You race them and then you move on, and that's it. And like, what was even the point? I don't know. There's Radiance Layer, which is not much better. I don't even remember there being this. Okay, see, this is something else. This game is like one of the longer 3D platformers I played. I think I had like 15 to 20 hours in it by the time I was done with it. And for as much as there was that I was doing, I do not remember a lot of the in-between. And the Groove Layer was probably like Groove Layer was probably like one of the worst. It was like one of the most nothing layers in the game. I do think, okay, to give the game a little bit of credit, I thought the Feast Layer was fun. I thought that one was actually, I actually liked that one quite a bit. It had more interesting level design, a more fun theme. I kind of like theme park levels in video games, so like it kind of, I'm a little biased there. I think DK Bananza, it focuses a little bit too much on the terrain destruction as like this big new thing, I guess, to showcase the power of Switch 2, that you can do all this stuff that, to be fair, I mean, I think the Switch 1 might have exploded at certain points of DK Bananza, especially in certain boss fights. If you've played the game, you'll know what I mean. I mean, the game really lags kind of bad, and in certain boss fights. In that way, DK Bananza feels more like a technical showcase than a strong contender for like one of the best Donkey Kong games, like I feel like it should have been. What I feel like Donkey Kong deserves after its long dormancy. Because I actually, after Donkey Kong Bananza, I got encouraged to go and play Donkey Kong Country for the first time, because I had always heard good things about the series. So I played through DKC 1, 2, and 3 in the course of a week, and those were a blast. Those were honestly great platformers. I haven't played Country Returns or Tropical Freeze yet. I did play a bit of Tropical Freeze with my brother when I was younger. I do need to play both of those sometime soon. But I think, I just honestly, at the end of the day, I think Donkey Kong deserves something much better than what it got with for its big new 3D platformer. Because I see all these people giving 5 out of 5s, 10 out of 10s across the board for Bonanza, and I think it's okay, to you want to enjoy the game, that's fine. I don't have a problem with people liking the game. It's just like I don't personally understand what they're seeing in it that I'm not. And okay, whenever I say this next thing, I don't say it to sound like pretentious, but I do genuinely think that people being overly hyperbolic about their opinions on games, movies, whatever, just in the past few years. I mean, I feel like in the past few years, maybe it's always been a problem and I just like didn't notice it so much until now, but I feel like I see every other game that comes out, every other movie that comes out these days, people are just like so quick to give 10 out of 10s to whatever, and there's no room for like an in between there. It's either it's the worst thing ever made or it's the best thing ever made. There's no middle ground. There's no nuance in between that, and that's what I find the most strange, especially with Donkey Kong Bonanza, because personally, I think it's the most mindless game that I've played in a long time. I think there are elements of it that are interesting, like the skill tree. I think aesthetically it looks pretty nice, but like a lot of the sub layers honestly do mesh together for many reasons. I mean, the level design is not great. It really does not ask that much out of you, which was a similar problem that I had in Super Mario Odyssey. But at least in that game, you had a fun movement system that made it kind of inherently fun to just platform and jump around and skip different challenges, which that's a different tangent I could go on. Donkey Kong Bonanza doesn't really have that. It doesn't have a strong movement system, in my opinion, which, to be fair, I'm not saying I want, like, Donkey Kong to move around with, like, Cappy on his head, like Mario Odyssey's exact movement copied over. I want Donkey Kong to feel unique, but still, like, good. His moveset just feels too rigid in this game, and it makes platforming challenges feel very limited, and especially, okay, the platforming challenges themselves, they already aren't that great, especially once you get to, like, later portions of the game, once you unlock more of the Bonanza moves, which, that's another tangent I could go on, because I didn't like any of the Bonanza moves either. I thought they were very uninteresting. I didn't think they added much to the game. I thought they were just kind of like, at a certain point, it just felt like they were there to actually have progression skill checks, things that you actually had to do to progress the story beyond go to the sublayer hole and jump down, because they were running out of other things, other ideas for progression markers. Like, I didn't get that much use out of Snake or Zebra at all. You really don't get any I feel like I didn't get any utility out of any of them until the final segment of the game, which, and I'm gonna be completely honest here, I think there's a subsection of people who gave Donkey Kong Bonanza a 10 out of 10 purely because the finale was great. And that's the one thing I will concede to. I think Donkey Kong Bonanza's finale was strong. It was very good. I thought there was like a sort of a fake out moment where I thought, okay, it would be a little bit underwhelming if it ended here, but also sort of cool. And then it continues, and it gets kind of cool. There's like I don't know entirely how to feel about it, but on the whole, I think it is a cool, like, flashy finale, and I do think there's probably some people out there who gave it a 10 out of 10 purely because the finale was so great. And I've been subject to this sort of mentality in the past where a good finale has, a game leaving you off on a high note kind of, at least for a little bit, makes you look back on the rest of it and feel like, oh, that was a really great game. That was like totally worth it. But people are just too quick. I feel like to just jump to that conclusion that it's a 10 out of 10 perfect game whenever I feel like just a few months from now people are going to be deciding, there's going to be more people coming out and saying that it's maybe like a 6 out of 10 game, 7 out of 10 maybe. And there's going to also be people who are going to be like, "Oh, people are switching up on Donkey Kong Bonanza? Wow, shameless." And I feel like we go through this cycle so many times. I'm so tired of it. And if people would just wait and let their thoughts simmer on a game before just saying, "This is peak fiction, guys. You all have to play this or before your entire bloodline dies, or you're just stupid. What are you doing with yourself?" Like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm being hyperbolic a bit there. And this isn't something exclusive to Donkey Kong Bonanza either. It's just something I've noticed over time. And with Donkey Kong Bonanza in particular, I feel very just like, I just get kind of tired when I think about it, because like, I don't think Bonanza is a bad game. It feels very much like a fatty steak with no meat to chew on. That's what it feels like to me, to be honest. And I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe Donkey Kong Bonanza just isn't for me. But I feel like Donkey Kong really did deserve something so much better, and this is just what we got instead, and I can't help but feel a little disappointed by it. But I don't know, man. You guys let me know what you think about Donkey Kong Bonanza in the comments. If you listened all the way through to this, thank you, by the way. I don't really expect many people to do that. It's just, there's a lot of... Doing this sort of unscripted thing is kind of hard. I mean, it's fun to do this. It honestly is, and it's probably like a good exercise for me for whenever I get more into scripting main channel videos again. Like I said at the start of the video, if you want to, I do have a Discord you can join where we can talk further about Donkey Kong Bonanza or pretty much any other random thing in there. I don't know. You do you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I didn't really have like a good footnote to end this on, so I'll see you all later, and hopefully I'll get better at this whole rambling thing.